Good morning, everybody. Today we're doing a few reacts. Saw this video come across, and I didn't watch all of it. I just watched part of it, and it sounded pretty damn interesting, actually. So I guess my background, this is gonna be less gaming oriented and more just me kind of rambling and going off and talking about shit. But my background is programming. I've been a programmer for a number of years. I've worked with like top tech companies and things, and this isn't a chest bump. This is just kind of giving some background. Um, some of the things that I saw Josh cover on his Metaverse video, I think he's right about a lot, but there's also other stuff that I had a different take on, or I saw it a different way, and I thought it was interesting, kind of what he was covering. So this is going to be one of the React videos that I'm sure everybody's tired of at this point. But hey, what the hell, it's like it's 7 a.m. in the morning on a Tuesday, so what else do we have to talk about? I also have an article over here we may jump into. It's just a Wired article, but I personally do not really know what the metaverse is. I haven't done much research on it. I've, in fact, purposely taken myself out of like modern cloud computing shit like that and tried to move back into like old school crufty C++ programming. So I'm kind of out of the loop, but I know how these giant tech companies operate. And yeah, so I figured I would see what's going on and see what it's all about.
What is the metaverse? You've probably heard
Ooh,
companies or corporations talking about building a metaverse or
I love that he
joining
has the
the
Matrix in
metaverse.
the
But what
background.
actually is it? What does the word mean? What are companies trying to sell us? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Josh Strife-Hayes. In this video, I'm going to break down the concept of the metaverse and explain it in super simple terms, which
See,
will be
again,
difficult, but
this is his point of view, though. Like, I didn't get too far. I got like maybe a minute or two, but he's explaining the concepts of the metaverse. But one of the first things he'll say is that nobody knows what the metaverse is yet. So, big disclaimer, right? Like, I mean, I don't claim to know what it is either. I'm just going to give my opinion. It was like one of the initial issues I kind of had with this style. And I know it's sensationalized, right? It's YouTube. It's supposed to be, that's how you get clicks is by either scaring people or talking about polarizing topics and things like that. But in this case, I think some of the things he's covering are maybe a little overblown, but I don't know. Let's get into it. Maybe he reverses course at some point in the video. But again, having the Matrix in the background, fucking perfect.
because not even the people claiming to build this completely understand what they are trying to build,
Right,
or how a
right.
lot of what they're claiming to do as a novel new thing has already been done. I'm going to explain why most metaverse claims are
Mm,
actually just giant corporate safety nets used to reduce the risk that companies take when making a new product and increasing
yeah.
how many customers they can share between demographics.
I mean that's true. So any but that's nothing new, I guess, right? So we're at the stage like with the metaverse announcement and stuff, right? It's the same with cloud computing. Every single company, every company and their grandma, right? Everybody's going to say they're going to have something involved. I mean, shit, I was on LinkedIn just the other day and I saw where like Deloitte apparently is making some big partnership with or some agreement to be hitting this metaverse development hard. I don't think they know what the hell it is. You see Facebook talking about it, Apple talking about it. All these companies are talking about it. It's the same thing that cloud was when cloud first released. It's not like it's uh, any new practice. I think the only reason that people are really starting to latch on to this concept now, especially people like Josh, and you see it being talked about in a lot of the Twitch circles and stuff like that, is because it directly impacts like the video game scene and the entertainment industry. But this whole concept of everybody jumping on board is absolutely nothing new. I mean, in fact, companies lag behind majorly too. So like they're just putting out like a broad blanket statement saying, "Hey, we're going to be doing something with Metaverse." they're gonna make it sound like they know what the hell they're doing or that they have a plan, but they don't, right? It's the same exact thing. Like there's still companies advertising the fact that they're moving to AWS or like different cloud services and shit like that, right? It's like cloud hasn't been cool in a decade, but these companies move so slowly that they're just now starting to get involved in it, right? And so I'm not saying it's the right move. I mean, to be honest, I don't really know what it all entails. I have a few thoughts on it based on like if I were to guess what this means for the future, but we'll see if there's a better plug in the video for me to kind of share my thoughts. But let's see what his takeaway is on this.
The metaverse isn't for you. It's
Uh, okay, so, I can't. Of course it's for us, the consumers, right? The whole reason that any company exists is to separate us from our money. So I get where he's going, right? He's saying this is a company initiative. They're not doing it for to better your quality of life and stuff like that. But it's hard to say that because I think we will see benefits come out of it, right? I'm not a proponent for metaverse. I mean, shit, I'm the guy that hardly leaves the house with a cell phone. I like things old school, right? So by no means is this going to directly impact my day to day, but I don't think that these companies are sitting there building something in their little walled gardens and saying, "This is gonna be evil for everybody else involved." It's like, nah, I, I don't know. This is a little sensationalized, I think.
for them. Before we begin, a massive thank you to all the
Holy
supporters on
shit, he's
Patreon
grown,
and
man.
Twitch who
That's
keep the channel
mad. I
alive.
remember when it
More
was
on
only like
how you can
12
support at
people.
the end. For now, let's begin. The phrase metaverse has become so popular lately, it's being used to describe everything from extended franchise universes to companies teaming up for public events to simple crossovers, and it's being so overused it's
Yeah.
beginning to lose all meaning. A
Halo
lot
and
of
Game
people
Fuel,
see it
back with
as a
Halo 3, that
blanket
was the
phrase
shit,
meaning the
man.
new online digital frontier. So to fully understand what a metaverse is, we need to look at what it isn't. The metaverse is
Hmm.
not the following things exclusively, although they all do play a part in what it ultimately
Of course, he
is.
has
I know this
Fortnite as the background. Like, Fortnite is like at least in my mind, it's kind of like the poster child of what the metaverse is or what it shouldn't be. Uh,
sounds
Funny.
confusing, but bear with me because I'll use examples to explain each one and then show you how they all come together. The metaverse is not simply a crossover episode. Take Scooby-Doo, the long-running
Mm,
TV show about a group of teenagers and a dog investigating mysteries. In 2018, there was a crossover episode with
looks like
Supernatural,
Sam
a
and Dean.
TV
Yeah.
show about the adventures of
I didn't know they did that. Oh my God, that's fucking good. Oh, I used to love Supernatural, man. I think I stopped. I still need to watch season 13. Oh, that show is so good. If you haven't watched Supernatural, it's worth rewatching. The early, like the first couple episodes of the first season are a little slow, a little rough, but like once they set the story, once you're into like season 3 and up and stuff, it's like you can't get enough. Oh man. Yeah. It was like when I first started working, I got into Supernatural. I remember I'd come home, get a bunch of Chinese food, sit in front of the TV for hours and just watch Supernatural until I fell asleep on the couch. It was that good.
demon hunting brothers Sam and Dean. Crossover episodes have
Fun fact, um, Sam, the actor, I forget his name. God, I can't remember his name. I think both of them live or have houses in Austin, and Sam got arrested a few years back for punching somebody in the face on like a Tuesday night outside a bar on 6th Street. Everybody makes mistakes. I'm not calling them out. I'm not trying to rehash this shit, but I thought it was funny. We've all done stupid shit. All right. It's just but I think both of them own a bar actually in the Austin area. I think it's all in the family or the family brewery or something like that. I don't know. I don't drink. I haven't had a drop in years, but I've always wanted to check out their bar or their brewery at least, just because it's cool as shit.
happened for years, and they don't need a new digital metaverse to happen again. Just like film and TV, video games have also crossed over for years. Recently, the online space
Yeah.
MMO Eve had an in-game crossover event with Doctor Who, letting
Hmm.
players visit Gallifrey and fight the Daleks.
Never watched Doctor Who.
Franchises with
I don't
similar
know anything about
demographics
it.
combining for temporary events is nothing new. Some games are made almost entirely out of crossovers, such as Super Smash Bros. Using characters from
Yeah,
loads of
that's true.
franchises.
I remember when
PlayStation
they brought
All-Stars doing
Link
the
from
same.
The Legend
The
of
Street
Zelda in.
Fighter games have seen various crossovers throughout history, including fighting the X-Men. So similar franchises clashing together
remember
isn't
that.
exclusive to the idea of a metaverse. The metaverse is not simply a multiverse within a single franchise. Marvel and DC have many multiverses with many versions of all of.
See, that's a perfect example. I'm glad he brought up Marvel and DC because, like, in my mind, that's what the metaverse is. It's this kind of combined shared world where it takes the burden off of the companies to have to create a cohesive world because your user, your audience is already invested in this world. So like if you have a different TV show, right? So say for instance here you have a bunch of different superheroes. I'm not a superhero guy. Like I never have been. I don't give a shit. But you have all of these different characters existing in the world. So like while you're in production for like I don't know, Batman or something, right? You have these other guys that are progressing the world, and then you just need to loosely tie Batman back into this shared universe in like a 15-minute plug instead of having to rebuild the entire world every single time, right? It's like The Witcher. They had to lay all the groundwork episodes, and then come season two, they have to remind you about the world that you left while they were into like production and making the second season and all this shit, right? And so I think the shared world concept is a way for them to continue to progress this world, like this living world that their user is invested in, that their audience is invested in, without needing to have to reset every fucking time they run out, right? Every time they need to go into like production to make another season or to make another game, it's like all you got to do at that point is just loosely tie your character back into the world that's already been going on. And then it looks like a whole, oh shit, how do they know? Because it's like everything matches up perfectly. And it's like, yeah, because it's a shared world. In my mind, that's what the metaverse is. Have I been calling it multiverse? Shit. That's what the metaverse is it's not a cop out. It's just a different way of allowing them to kind of mesh all these different ideas together. But I know I've seen a lot of people talk about it in terms of like commodity and stuff too, like Walmart and I don't know how that works. I have ideas, but let's see. Let's see what he says.
Their iconic characters on many different realities. Superman exists in many Earths. There are many versions of the Batman. So
Yep.
the metaverse isn't just different versions of a single character or a single reality within a franchise. We've been doing that for years too.
Yeah.
The metaverse is not an extended universe of a franchise. Star Wars has the mainstream films, but also a host of smaller media, books, games, the Christmas special. All of these stories
There was a
flesh out
Christmas
the world,
special?
but they're not
The fuck
actually
is that?
required viewing or reading to understand the world for the casual
Sounds
enjoyer.
awful.
The Star Trek universe has the mainstream shows and then a plethora of smaller connected media. The idea that
Yeah.
you can expand a franchise's in-universe lore with supplemental media is nothing new. The metaverse isn't just references from one piece of media to the next, showing an out-of-canon connection like how the Pizza Planet delivery truck appears in multiple.
Uh, this is all very entertainment focused though. And I get that's his space, but I was hoping that this would kind of cover more of like a cross industry type view because the metaverse as a whole is not just an entertainment industry concept, but we'll see.
Films,
We'll
or
keep
how
watching.
Tarantino movies all have small details linking them into an overarching universe despite not directly interacting, loosely connecting multiple pieces of media through shared iconography
I didn't know
to
that
reward
was
keen
a
viewers
thing
and
with
create a
Pulp
sense
Fiction
of
and Kill Bill.
cohesion
It's
linked
actually
to a director or a company
I'm gonna have to look into
instead of
that.
the in-universe rules is again nothing new. The metaverse is not simply a single mechanical framework which various franchises are adapted to.
Not yet. Not yet. So and that's exactly what happened with Cloud, right? Like whenever it starts out as an idea. It starts out just like the internet, right? It starts out as like this big nebulous kind of concept that nobody can hammer down, but it absolutely will turn into a framework. I mean, that's the way humans are. They don't We as people do not like dealing with ambiguity, and we will find a way to turn this into a framework. We will find a way to commoditize the, is that even a fucking word? The concept of the metaverse, right? In the same way that cloud was at its core, we have a bunch of computers in a data center and we want to rent that space to somebody else. And then they built like all of this different shit on top of it, right? Which kind of evolved into machine learning and AI. And then you saw different programming languages kind of rise up. You saw different modules for Python. You saw the R programming language kind of become more specialized into data parsing. Like, I guarantee you that that happens with metaverse as well, that there's this push to come up with some form of framework, that there's this push to develop other languages. Like, if I were to guess, right, everybody's kind of in their closed systems where their own ideas and information is being stored and running from, but metaverse geared languages and frameworks would be able to extract that metadata and combine it into a single source somehow, like that. In my mind, that's what metaverse future tech would be focused on, is pulling as much data out of systems as possible and being able to combine it and use it in new ways. So you're kind of combining different companies' data in ways that's never been done before, right? And if you want to focus on the marketing aspect, you can. If you want to focus on different service offerings, you can. That's my take. Like, that's where I see this going. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I have no idea. I don't work for companies that are involved with this anymore. Right? So, um, I don't know. But if I had to guess, that's the way they take it.
fit within as cogs of that machine. And to make that sentence simpler, consider this. The card game Magic the Gathering. The mechanics of
Hmm.
Magic have remained relatively stable for
Never
many
really
years. The
played.
cards have
Tried
the
once in
same layout
college.
and the game has the same rules. And for many years, Magic the Gathering was its own story with its
What?
own consistent
Magic the Gathering had a story? That's odd. Well, I guess all of them did, right? So like Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, they all had their own stories. So I guess it does. It's not too
characters
surprising.
independent of other established franchises. But recently, Hasbro began adding in expansions known as
It's a Hasbro
Secret
game?
Lairs,
Fuck.
featuring other franchise characters molded to fit the Magic the Gathering rule set. There was a Walking Dead secret lair, so Rick,
Oh
steadfast
God,
leader, a
that sounds awful. Like, what the fuck? So you're now gonna be like force fed fucking Walking Dead shit into the Magic the Gathering universe? That doesn't sound. I can't believe that that went over well.
character from The Walking Dead, is now a Magic the Gathering card. This set actually sold so well they made a load
What?
more. Magic the Gathering, once a franchise and story
That
unto
sold
itself,
well?
now has official playable cards of My Little Pony, Dungeons and Dragons,
Oh my
Stranger
God.
Things, Arcade.
See, Path to Exile. So you're telling me, to me, it makes sense. Like Dungeons and Dragons moving into Magic the Gathering, I could see the parallel, right? Like it's not shell shock when you like come in there and it's like, oh shit, it's like you're not seeing unicorns and stuff. But My Little fucking Pony, I've never really been a Magic the Gathering guy, but I have to imagine that pisses off a lot of the
Kane,
hardcore
and coming soon,
Magic
a
the
set
Gathering
based on
guys.
the Lord of the Rings TV show to tie in with Amazon's new Lord of the Rings TV show,
They
and
better not
Commander
fuck
decks
up the
based
Rings of
on
Power. I
Warhammer
swear. Oh
40k.
my god,
But
I
using
love the Lord of the
established
Rings.
mechanical frameworks and then plugging in franchises is nothing new. Monopoly has been doing this exact thing for
Yeah,
years.
Monopoly is like a prime example of merging things together. On a side note, though, if Amazon fucks up the Lord of the Rings like they fucked up, well, I was never a Reacher fan, but I saw good reviews about it, about this new Reacher show, right? And I watched the whole thing, and it was the most trite fucking bullshit I have ever seen on TV. Like, it was awful. It was. I watched the whole thing, The action scenes were somewhat enjoyable, but the acting was so fucking like rigid and static. I mean, I'm not an actor, I don't claim to be, but oh, it was just it was really bad. I think that's part of the reason I kept watching it was because it was so bad. And like the fucking like the cool quotes, right? So he strangles some dude by like choking him. The guy's hanging or whatever, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we were playing Hangman." And it's like, give me a break. It's not even cool. It's just filled with a bunch of like one of. It's like some guy had a dream of like what a cool guy would say whenever he was 12, and he never matured past that point. And then that, in summary, is the new Reacher show. It's awful, but it's worth a watch if you want a good laugh.
HeroClix has many franchises, but the pieces can all interact. And now the most important thing to understand about what the
Oh
metaverse
God,
isn't.
here's the
The
VR.
metaverse is not just a 3D virtual hangout room.
See, that's what I thought Metaverse was. I thought it was just a big chat room that Facebook was evolving into. So I'm glad to see
Or
that there's more
virtual
to it than
reality.
that
This
because
seems to be the
I've never done
biggest
3D chat. I don't
marketing
want to do it.
angle because people who don't play video games assume this looks really impressive to people who
I don't think so. I don't think anybody looks at this and says, wow, that's what people want. I think most people now know what video games are. I mean, even like my generation, our parents grew up playing video games, like whether it was Atari or even early games like Baldur's Gate. I mean, shit, I played that as a kid, right? So I mean, I don't think anybody looks at this. They're like, yeah, people are gonna have fun. They're not gonna wait. They're gonna be so excited to hop on this shit after work. Yeah, it's not. It's just
do.
not.
Many
No,
companies have
nobody.
created online interactive 3D spaces, sometimes using virtual reality, and they say, this is the metaverse. Then they put boring everyday things into the virtual space, like how Walmart put out a video showing you could shop in
Yeah,
virtual reality.
this is the shit I was talking about. So okay, I didn't know they actually had footage. So this, I hope he covers more of this. I hope he covers more of this because this is where I see the big dollars coming in, right? Like think about it. Think about it this way. So they're in this old virtual shopping thing. It looks stupid. Like who the fuck would prefer that over just going to the grocery store? I don't know. It's not cool. I'd rather just use a touchscreen on my phone and say I want this, 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 and then you either deliver it or pick it up, whatever. But imagine metaverse service offerings for companies, right? So imagine like you have Airbnb specializing or like fucking Hilton Enterprise or whatever the fuck they are, right? All the hotels or all of these Airbnb rentals. Right now, they are their own separate system. So like if you want to book a trip, you have to book your fucking flight, then you have to find your place where you're going to stay, you have to book a rental car, and they're all separate companies, right? And there's websites and things that have moved into the middle to kind of fill that void, but they still suck, right? Like Expedia, Trivago, all these different companies, like they're still not easy. And like, because all they're doing is just booking shit on the different sites for you with the click of one button. They're slow, they have issues, they're not great. But imagine if my idea of metaverse it becomes this framework for extracting like metadata out of these different companies and blending it all together in a single area. Imagine if that is what this becomes, where you log into like the travel metaverse and you have your selection of like, oh, okay, I flight here, hotel here, and maybe they can offer partnerships or like more discounts and stuff. So I think there are going to be benefits to consumers because it's going to be just like that much easier to book all similar things together. Like this is obviously very heavily focused on the entertainment industry, like his video, but in my mind, that's what I think of when I think of metaverse. But I don't know, and I honestly don't give a shit. So we'll
Reality.
see.
This is just online shopping with a very over-designed user interface.
Yeah,
The
that looks
news
like
loves to
hell.
report on the first marriage in the metaverse, when what they mean is two people held a digital marriage
People have been
ceremony.
doing that
And
in
this
WoW
is
for
not new.
decades.
We've been doing this for years as well. The
Yeah.
MMO EverQuest released back in 1999, and that saw some players holding online marriages. The 3D
Right.
chat-based
Been doing it for a
IMVU
long
was
time.
popular in the mid-2000s. Second Life has
Yeah,
allowed you to
Second
customize
Life
your
was huge with
avatars
that.
play
I never
music, or
played, but I
chat to
knew
people
people
in
that got
real
really
time.
into it.
Interacting with other people in a 3D online environment is not a new idea. The
Nope.
addition of virtual reality, while changing the
This shopping, like, I hope they didn't spend too much money on that because nobody looks at that and says, "Yep, that's easier than using an iPhone app." Like, you're gonna have to put fucking goggles on and shit. And no, it's nah, it's already too much. Like, it's if you're replacing how easy it is to walk into a store and grab shit off the shelves, it better be very fucking simple because this is not it. This looks like a lot more steps involved to just buy a Coke. Not to mention, when you're done with this whole transaction, this whole simulated shopping, you still have to either wait or drive to the store to pick up your fucking Coke. So, like, the, why simulate shopping if at the end of the day you still don't have the fucking product? This makes absolutely no sense to me. Like, the whole goal is to simplify the transaction of my money for your product. This looks like shopping for the fun of shopping, and that's not what I'm about. Not even close.
visuals does not fundamentally change the foundation of this experience. Having an online party is also not the Metaverse. Recently, the
Yeah.
crypto-based game
Have they been
Decentraland
advertising that it
uploaded a
was?
video showing an online rave. There were avatars
I
stood
guess they
around
have been.
listening to live music, and the news outlets in the real world jumped on this as the Metaverse rave. Now, on a personal note, this whole thing looks absolutely terrible. There are no
Yeah, it looks
keynotes,
fucking
no events
awful. That
happening
looks
to
like
actually go
somebody's
and get
first
involved
stab
with.
at
The whole
like what.
thing looks boring as hell. But playing music from a real band to players in a game has been done before, and it's
Yeah.
been done better. The mobile and PC
See, I don't. This whole without metaverse, like that's the thing. It's not new. I don't know that anybody who's claiming it's new is just out of touch with reality. Like I think metaverse in the same way that cloud is not new. Like there have been data centers that existed since the fucking 80s, right? The idea of pushing your computing power to a different site located somewhere else from where your data is actually being consumed is not new. Cloud was not new, and just like metaverse is not new. So he's focusing in on that, but I mean, it's kind of stating the obvious, right? It's like, yeah, I mean, it's new in the fact that companies are latching on to the buzzword. The buzzword itself is new, but the concepts are not new. But that's also not new for the tech industry. Like by the time a buzzword comes out to describe something, it's been done for like decades, right? like, like by the time meme had the official name of meme, people were fucking doing it for like 10 plus years.
MMO Adventure Quest 3D has hosted many concerts, including Breaking Benjamin, with the developers
I didn't
live
know
in
they
the
did
game
that. It's fucking cool.
spawning monsters for the
Why
players to
Adventure
fight
Quest though?
while they were enjoying the concert. So online parties are not exclusively new to the metaverse. So
No.
all of these awesome connected online things have happened before. Why are companies saying the metaverse is the key to making them happen again? Well, I can see three main reasons.
All right.
First, it's because rebranding these online things as the metaverse sounds cool. It's the buzzword of the
Yeah, that's 100%. These companies will follow it like dogmatically, like to their own demise in some cases too. But they're also not stupid. So they're not going to just jump on the bandwagon because it's like, oh, it's the cool thing to. I mean, in a lot of cases, yes, but they also see dollars associated with it, right? Because they think that the rest of us or the people that they're trying to appeal to are even dumber than they are, and that by having this buzzword, it'll make them, want to either spend their money or join their company. So you see it with if you're involved in any kind of programming like agile, that shit is still being sold as like the new hot thing. It's like it's just a fucking way to develop. Like whether you're waterfall or agile, it doesn't fucking matter. It's all the same. And if you truly believe that agile has revolutionized the way you work, then you're a fucking idiot because like it's just all it is a fucking name for the feedback loop of like, hey, this feature doesn't work, fix your shit. Like if you weren't developing that way before, I'm sorry, but maybe you shouldn't be developing. But like now there's like a whole industry around it, right? There's like this whole fucking position for Scrum Master and shit. It's like, dude, that just used to be called Dave, and he was the fucking guy that knew how to use the little fucking Kanban board, right? So the fact that you've given that a special name and come up with these special certs doesn't mean it's like some new concept. I don't know. I'm getting way off topic, but I don't know. Yeah, it's a buzzword, and I fucking hate buzzwords with a passion.
the year. Second, because calling something a metaverse and not just a crossover or an extended universe means there is no time limit on it. Crossovers are often temporary and don't affect the continued canon of any piece of media.
It's a stretch. I mean, I don't know that anybody's thinking about it that way. I sure as hell wouldn't. It's like I hear metaverse, I don't think, oh yeah, it's a permanent place where I can go and do the blah blah blah. And it's like I think it's exactly what it is. It's just a word to describe something that's already been going on. I don't I don't know. This is
In
reading
any
a lot
lasting,
into it.
meaningful way. But being part of the same metaverse permanently links two things forever. And finally, because if
Hmm.
two franchises are in the same metaverse umbrella, even if they aren't related franchises, it allows companies to
Yes,
smash them together for profit and
exactly.
create a new product which, in theory, appeals to the customer base of both. So let's
Or he's not hitting on the point that I think is the biggest selling point. It's not just creating a new product, it's creating new services, creating new ways to offer people services, right? It's in a lot of cases I see this being the same products, but all of a sudden, like back to my travel example, all of a sudden you could book your flight and your hotel directly from the companies in this smashed together easier to do way. And that's a huge, huge, huge selling point. Like think about what Google did, right? Like Google, they own their email app. They also own their calendar app if you're using Android, so they can scan your emails and automatically put like a notification for when you have an upcoming flight on your calendar. But the only reason they can do that is because they own all the pieces to make that work. But imagine if all of these other companies had their data exposed, like all of their metadata, right? And then you could do that more. Now, to me, it sounds terrifying, right? I think that's the end goal of Metaverse is put all fucking data out there and just let China go wild. I don't know, right? But like somebody, it sounds like a nightmare to try to lock down. But that, in my mind, that is the end goal, is get as much data as possible out there and just let people
examine that. What the
do
metaverse
things with it.
really is a corporate attempt to combine everything they could sell you together and then to make you feel involved and connected to everything they do. To provide a sense of community to customers while tying all of the customer demographics that company can reach into one giant target market. The largest benefit this
I,
brings to the company controlling the metaverse and all franchises within is reducing the risk of failure whenever a new product launches. Because if a product launches into a
mm,
metaverse, everything from that same metaverse is able to prop it up. Now that is a bold
I don't I don't know, because I mean they're taking a big risk that they water down the product that they're inserting into it, right? And in a lot of cases, these things can stand better on their own than they can leaning, like they're more impactful, right? Think about even like games, right? If you want to tie it back to the entertainment industry or movies, like something that is its own unique world is if it hits, right, it's going to be way more popular than an additional character in an already long running series because it's new, it's exciting. So I mean, I think they're taking a risk in just shoving more things into an already existing universe, and I think they know that. I mean, as much as everybody likes to pick apart companies and stuff, there's really, really smart people leading the charge in a lot of these really big companies. Not all, but in a lot, right? And they recognize this shit, right? There's people who are paid buttloads of money to do nothing but study the financial trends associated with inserting characters into the metaverse, like a shared universe, and also inserting and building brand new worlds. And they look at the financial overhead of one versus the other, and they look and they pull it apart, and they literally can tell you to the T which one is more effective and which one is going to allow you to open or going to allow them to get more people to open their wallets to them. And regardless of how you or I or anybody feels about it, the fact of the matter is that whatever direction we see metaverse go is the one that makes the most financial sense. So like it may look like the stupidest thing in the world to you, and that's because newsflash, you are not the target audience, right? There's a lot of people that don't mind buying a skin for a video game. There's also a lot of people that don't mind paying a subscription service for a video game. Like for me, I don't think twice about buying a WoW subscription or an MMO subscription because for me, I care about the experience I have in the game. It's the same reason I don't mind too much about paying for streaming services. I care about as getting unlimited access to the product so I can have the experience I want to have. Whereas for other people, their experience is having or buying something that other people don't have, or customizing or personalizing. I mean, look at what the fuck I'm wearing. I don't care about customizing or personalizing too much. I care about experiences. And so for me, having a bunch of characters slammed together in a big universe and being able to really customize your unique look or things like that, I'm not the target audience. I don't think it sounds cool. But I don't necessarily think that means that it's a bad decision. I think companies recognize that if they're going this route, it means that I am in the minority, and that's okay. Like that's okay. I know there's a lot of people that get bent out of shape anytime there's something like that goes counter to the way they think, and at the end of the day, it's you're just not the target audience. But there's a lot of shit that people get really bent out of shape that they have to pay subscription services to do different things. They're not the target audience. It's like if it feels weird, it's not for you. That's ultimately what it comes down to. But these companies are going to follow the dollars.
Bold claim, so let's break it down. The word metaverse in its current state is more of a buzzword than an actual specific defined thing.
Yeah,
And because
100%.
so many companies are using it to mean so many different things, it's not a very accurate descriptor of anything. Now, we've
Nope.
seen attempts at connecting
Just like
everything together
cloud.
like this before. Many years ago, the phrase the Internet of Things became popular. The
That's
idea that all
that's still a big thing. There's still companies who are advertising that as new development. This was such a trash idea, right? The Internet of Things. All this was hey, everything has an exposed API. And I remember when this was like coming around when I first started working. It was like, hey, everything has an exposed API, like your watch, your refrigerator. So how would you like to see the weather on your refrigerator? It's like, no. I mean, okay, yeah, it's a cool idea, but I'm not willing to pay extra for it because I have a fucking cell phone and I could just pull that up. And so like that was the Internet of Things. Hey, we can connect your toaster to your phone. And it's like, oh wow, now I don't have to press an extra button to do it's like it was a cool idea that was handled poorly. I still think there's something there, right? I still think there were advancements and things that came out of IoT, but it's if you were in a major company during the time of IoT, you saw internal teams with their fucking cringy ass corporate branding. There was always some dude that wore the lanyard around his neck, even though he's like 45 and overweight. There's, and he's the guy who leads the fucking team, right? And he's walking around, he's got his little badge card dangling from it. And he was always talking about IoT. He was only quote unquote recruiting the best for his team. And it's just the fucking nerdy kids who wanted to build like the next Stack Overflow site internally. That was IoT at every corporate company on the planet when this hit like 10 years ago. And that's going to be meta as well. I guarantee it. But
smart
whatever.
objects like phones, watches, and fridges, anything with any kind of internet connection, should be able to communicate with everything else. Your entire world would be connected through the Internet of Things. And this never really took off for two main reasons.
Yeah.
One, because different companies use different systems and standards and
Yep.
languages and networks, and
There's
no
no
one
way
could
to
agree how everything should work.
to an
And two,
extent. I mean, as long as they had an exposed API, you could make it work. I think the reason that number one failed wasn't because they used different systems. It's because IT as a whole wasn't ready for it. It's just not. I mean, it's really, really complicated and not trivial to mesh a lot of data together. And even given that, the majority of the workforce that's in IT now is not as skilled as what they used to be in the 80s. And that's just because things have gotten more handholdy and there's been a huge push to get more people in, which has oversaturated the market with like people that aren't necessarily the best or don't necessarily belong. It takes a long time to be good, and trying to make everything easy has some downsides. One of which is you're not able to make things work like that.
Because it didn't always benefit the customer. And ultimately, that is what the
Yeah,
success
it
of
never
the
benefited
metaverse will
anybody.
boil
Nobody
down
cares
to.
about getting the
Does
weather on
it
the refrigerator.
benefit the customer? The metaverse is a push toward you as a user having your digital life all nicely packed into a connected system so everything works with everything else. And everything you love is somehow related to everything else you love. If you've ever tried to log on to a site or join an app and it's asked, do you want to log in with Facebook? And you think, hey, that's handy, then you've taken the first steps
I
into
never
what a
do that
connected
shit
metaverse
because
would
I don't
actually
use
look like.
Facebook,
This is
but
also
it
why
just I don't like
Facebook's
tying them
parent
together.
company have recently changed their name to Meta. But remember, this ease of use and connected lifestyle isn't just for your benefit, it's to make gathering data on you and selling you things easier. So why is the idea of a
Yeah,
metaverse bad, and what damage could it do to the
I
franchises
don't
we
think it's
love?
bad.
Since Marvel movies
If
really
it's bad, then it's been bad for a decade.
cemented how financially successful extended universes are, companies have
I just
wanted
think
to
it
do that
is.
with everything they own. Sequels often make more money and carry less risk of failure because you know for a fact you have an enfranchised fanbase who will watch and enjoy whatever you do. And doing something new is a risk for companies. Imagine if you own a company and you release two products for two different demographics. Let's just call them A and B. A becomes successful and B fails. In the future, you're just going to want to release endless sequels to A. But you've already put the effort into creating B. So what if there was a way to advertise B at demographic A without actually doing any extra work to connect them? Let's say product A was a TV show and B was a clothing line. By having the characters on the
Maybe for
show
entertainment
wear the
industry.
clothes
I'll save
from
my
the line,
comments.
you have now combined demographics. You have doubled your market reach for both products. And here's the great thing for the company, it's risk-free. The people who
No,
like the show
that's patently false. Everything a company does is risky. Every single thing is risky because I mean, you can even look at the example he gave. You have a failed clothing line being partnered up with a successful, I don't know, entertainment series or something. You run the risk of people being so put off by your clothing line that the successful series fails or flops or anything in between. There's always a risk. The fact that they're even using metaverse as a buzzword that they're pushing is risky. They run the risk of people being turned off because it's now been associated with NFTs, which have a bad connotation. And so, like, no, I 100% disagree. I'm with them for a lot of the things, but this one is just flat out not true. Everything a company does, every decision they make, even if it's inaction, has an associated risk, right? There's the risk that you miss something by not taking the steps to go into something else. So, uh, risk free is not everything in life has a risk, right? There's a Rush song. Is it Limelight? Those who choose not to decide still have made a choice, right? There's always a risk.
will continue to watch it. The people who like the clothes will continue to wear them. You've not lost any customers from either. But now the people who watch the show are interested in the clothing line, and the
No,
people who bought the
I,
clothes are
I don't
interested in
necessarily
the
agree.
show. Two totally different audiences have now been unified under the idea of your metaverse. Every company starting a metaverse is doing it for one main reason: the homogenization of every audience demographic from every product they own under one giant advertising umbrella. And unlike crossover events or episodes, you do not need anything to actually be relevant from anything else to link them all. You just
I mean, if you're an idiot, right? You of There's of course going to be companies that try it. You see it in MMOs now, where they have like this this kind of feature, this feel of the environment and kind of the universe that they built, and then let's say it's kind of like this old sword and magic and shield and stuff, and then you see some guy driving around in like a fucking neon light skirt on a unicorn, right? Like that completely breaks the immersion, and I think it turns a lot of people off. So yeah, I mean, of course, companies have the ability to jam whatever the hell they want, whether it makes sense or not, into universes together, but to their own detriment. I mean, I think that would be a really stupid decision for them, and I think you're going to see most companies not do that. I think if you could just spool up a different metaverse for things that are similar, then that would be a much better approach. So I mean, he's not wrong. I don't think most people do it. I think people try it and they fail miserably, and then they try to go more towards keeping
Just need
things
to take
similar.
the recognizable bits of one product and plug it into another, relying on the popularity of each individual recognizable thing to sell. Like
And this is
putting
all very
Kratos from
entertainment
God of War,
industry
Master Chief
focused
from
too, right?
Halo, John Wick, and Vi from Arcane all into Fortnite. You could look at Fortnite as a giant example of a third-person metaverse shooting game.
Yeah,
The big problem with this
I would agree
is
with that.
whatever mechanical foundation you use to drive the other franchises to loses all the personality it originally had and becomes a vehicle for the other popular franchises to ride on. It becomes the invisible host framework you plug other, more recognizable characters into.
But as long as it makes
Fortnite
some money.
used to have its own story, but they realized continuing that wouldn't make as much money as just plugging more
Exactly.
and more characters from already existing franchises into. So instead of being its own thing, it's now a vehicle for crossovers. It
Yep.
lost its own story, but it gained massive profits.
Yep.
Magic the Gathering used
Exactly.
to have its own storyline and characters, and while it still does to an extent, it makes far more money being used as a vehicle to sell secret lairs and crossovers. Magic the Gathering has had its own plot and personality pushed to the side to make room for the more famous things from other franchises. The cards are no longer part of a single, consistent, unique universe with its own deep lore. They are now simply game pieces with icons from popular culture.
I mean, yeah, he's just kind of saying the same thing, but this is all again very, very entertainment focused. It looks
On
like he
them
might
because
not
that will
cover
sell better. Whenever a metaverse
other
begins, one of
industries.
the first casualties is the individual personality of the things within it. Because
Only that's what he said is only true if that's the way that the company has structured it. If they've decided that it makes more money to give up individuality for this combined universe. So I go back to my travel example. You don't lose the identity of American Airlines or Airbnb by combining service offerings together and allowing the consumer to pick in an easier fashion. The only thing that you may do, well, you turn it into this is your one-stop shop for travel, right? But American Airlines is still American Airlines. So it just depends on how they do it. I don't.
now
This is
everything
very doom and
exists
gloom.
related to everything else. There are no standalone stories. Independent franchises or characters are no longer the stars of their own smaller show. They are now simply supporting characters to the stars of the bigger shows. Every episode of everything is a potential crossover with everything
Potential.
else.
That's the key
permanently.
word.
Meaning the franchise
Doesn't mean they
you
will.
love is now always one executive decision away from being cannibalized by a larger one.
That's always been the case, though. That has 100% always been the case since the dawn of time. He even gave examples earlier on of where they were doing this back in the early 2000s. I mean, everything's always at the whim of the company or the executive decisions, right?
Because it would make more money. With a metaverse in place, a company can release multiple products aiming at multiple demographics all under the single banner of the metaverse. And
Yeah.
suddenly everything they released is relevant to every customer of that metaverse, even if they weren't
Maybe.
related before. Maybe you downloaded League of Legends and you enjoyed it for a bit, and maybe you liked the character Vi, so you go and watch the TV show on Netflix Arcane, and then you see they're releasing an Arcane secret lair for Magic the Gathering, and you enjoy playing Magic the Gathering, so you buy the Fortnite secret lair. From a company viewpoint,
I
the
personally
individual
don't know anybody
character
that does
metaverse
that, but I know
of
people
Vi
do.
is now a good thing for League of Legends developers, Fortnite developers, Netflix, and Wizards of the Coast. They all benefit from
Yes.
the other's established audience.
Yes.
Franchises have fans. Companies have loyal customers, marketing
That's
agencies
nothing
see
new.
target
That's
demographics, and the
marketing 101.
metaverse is a way of combining absolutely everything together so your franchises mix with every other's and gain you more fans. Your
Hmm.
company benefits from the loyal customers of another, and marketing agencies can increase their target demographic to everyone. The metaverse is the idea that your online life, offline interests, passions, and hobbies, and all future media enjoyment must all be connected so you become part of the largest target demographic in history. But to finish off, perhaps the biggest
I
issue
don't
with the
know.
metaverse is the simple fact there is no one metaverse. There are as
Exactly.
many as you want to create. When a
Yes.
company says they are working on the metaverse, what they hope naive people will hear is we are building the one and only digital future.
I don't think anybody thinks that. I don't think anybody expects that that is what the outcome of this is. Like when you hear Walmart saying they're building the metaverse, I don't think you get people unless it's like fucking Sharon who's 80 years old who is just now figuring out how to turn her modem on. I don't think anybody's going to look at this and be like, "Oh, yep, Walmart's building the future, which is the metaverse." I just think people don't know what the fuck it is yet, and we're all just kind of waiting to see what it becomes. Just like nobody really knew what cryptocurrency was, and nobody really knew what NFTs were, and it's like you kind of figure it out over time. I think that's where people are. I don't think anybody's jumping on board saying, "Oh, yeah, Walmart's going to be the future. Walmart's going to build the new virtual world." That's like no, they're doing something with it, right? We don't know what yet, but I, unless people are a lot more naive than I think, but I would like to give people a little bit more credit, especially people born in a technical age and era.
We are the arbiters of the next step of reality. When what they actually mean is we are combining everything we own into a big homogenous franchise soup, hoping you will swim in our soup exclusively. Also, there
Yeah,
might be 3D VR chat. Decentraland claims to be the metaverse. Earth 2
baby.
claims to be the metaverse. Facebook claims to be the metaverse. Hell, even Adidas, who sells sports equipment, are advertising themselves as having the metaverse. And
Yeah,
what all metaverses currently are is walled gardens,
yeah, it's
each
just a
built
big
by their own
advertisement thing,
controlling
right?
companies, blocking off everyone else and hoping everyone decides to come and join them. But why would a company ever join another
Not
company's metaverse? Why be
necessarily
a
though.
servant in another digital world when you could rule in your own? Look at the recent Microsoft Activision Blizzard purchase.
Yeah,
They
this
didn't
is a
buy them
prime
because they
example. So you have Microsoft purchasing Activision Blizzard. You have Sony purchasing Bungie. Like they're obviously going to start combining franchises because it makes more sense to do it. So you are going to see them begin to water down these industries. But at the end of the day, they've decided that they don't give a shit. They're going to lose people anytime you make a change. This goes for anything in life. Anytime you make a change, anytime you move houses, say you're moving from one apartment to the next or one house to the next. During that move, you're going to lose something. You're going to forget a box. You're going to forget a t-shirt. Something's going to break. You're going to have to throw it away. They know that. They're going to lose people, but they see more value in combining these things together. And I don't necessarily know that it's going to be worse for everybody else. It's just going to be different. And in a lot of ways, there are probably going to be things that actually become better about it, or else they wouldn't do it, right? They have a lot. I promise you, there's really smart guys looking at the financials, and they've said, "Yep, this makes sense." Now, maybe it's predatory. It very well could be, and maybe it sucks more for the consumer, but that'll eventually work its way out. Like, and if it doesn't, then that means that the consumers as a whole, have accepted what it is and are willing to put up with either additional cost or predatory practices. But you, as a person, vote with your wallet. And so if you see companies continuing to do something that you don't like, it means that you're in the minority because other people are okay with it. That's just the way the world works. Like if 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 you see a company continuing to put out political ads or something like Gillette, right? And they continue to do it, it means that their business wasn't impacted by the quote unquote boycott. It means that nobody really gave a shit enough to stop buying the razor that doesn't cut open their face every time they go to shave in the morning. So, uh, uh, yeah, I guess I got off on a tangent. I guess I got off on a tangent.
really enjoy Call of Duty, they bought them because they can now link Candy Crush and Windows PCs together in the Microsoft Metaverse.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure if they
yeah.
sold Clippy as a pet in World of Warcraft, someone would buy
I
it.
100%
Minecraft
would.
skins in Call
I
of
don't buy
Duty are
skins or
only a
pets, but
matter
I
of
would buy
time,
Clippy.
while Diablo
Or
and the Elder Scrolls
the fucking Einstein guy. There's a little fucking Einstein guy. Do you remember him? He would pop up. He was there with Clippy, a little gray-haired dude.
Online are not connected franchises, they could, under the banner of the Microsoft Metaverse, see a crossover. Now,
Yep.
would players and fans of any franchise want to dilute their franchise's own personality and unique place in fiction by permanently linking it to another? Well, that depends on the fan. But if the
Yes.
linking would make more money than it loses, you can guarantee it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah. And that is where I go back to. If everybody hated it, companies wouldn't be doing it. But if people don't care or it doesn't bother them enough, companies are going to continue to do it because they're going to continue to open their wallets. So I get it. He doesn't like the concept of it. I personally don't like the concept of it, but only time will tell to see if the world likes the concept of it. This that he has posted here is absolutely false, but I want to hear what he says.
Companies don't like risk, and releasing something is always a risk. So combining what you own into a massive metaverse and releasing something as part of the metaverse is a way of mitigating the risk.
No, it's risky in its own way. And the fact that companies don't like risk is another case of 150% false. It is not accurate at all. I sat in attached as the IT guy to corporate America for a very long time, and I promise you, there's entire risk organizations in companies, and their entire goal is to come up with percentage chances that a bet that they're trying to make as a company, right, will succeed. So, like, if you were to look at Walmart, right, is this acquisition that they're about to do, or is this real estate that they're about to purchase going to pay off in the long run? That's a risk. Companies don't like bad odds. That's what he should have said. And that's probably what he means, is that companies don't like bad odds. But companies love risk because if there's no risk, there's no reward. Look at the auto manufacturers, right? Like up until recently with the electric cars and stuff, they were relatively static. There wasn't a whole lot of innovation going on there because the risk was taken out of it, because they were backed by the federal government and still are in a lot of ways, right? Because if they go bankrupt like in 2009, the government will come and bail them out. They had a safety net. There was no reason to innovate. There was no reason to take risk. It wasn't until Elon came in with Tesla and really shook them all up. And started that fire like, hey, taking a lot of your market share, so you gotta get back in there. So no. I mean, when you have no risk, companies tend to just get static. They tend to die in a lot of ways, right? Or at least not grow, which from a company point of view is dying. If you're not growing, you're dying. And to say that they don't like risk is just flat out not the case. They love risk. They thrive off risk. The risk is the only reason they're a company and the only reason they continue to be a company is because they're making bets and they just are focused on making the right bets. In this case, Metaverse is the right bet. But there's a very huge risk that combining multiple things together dilutes the original products enough that they lose a lot of their people. So that is a huge risk. So to say that combining them in the Metaverse is low risk or no risk is not true at all. The risk is that it turns people off and they close their wallets to that, not just one product, but all products in the Metaverse. Think about that. That's like double the risk. In my mind, it's riskier to combine and run the risk of losing. You have known quantities of products and worlds and universes that are doing, they're doing as well as they're currently doing, right? But it's known. You know that if you don't change a thing, you can expect this projected outcome from them. If you combine them together, you run the risk of blowing them all up. That's a big, big, big risk.
Because you can guarantee, while there may not be fans of the individual thing you are releasing, there is a fan base of the metaverse as a whole.
Like World
so
of Warcraft, they have a bunch of little systems
related to the metaverse, even if they don't care about the product itself. Franchises make more money, and releasing something into a metaverse is a way of forcing franchise connections from everything released to something already successful. This increases the chance that any new thing will make instant money at the cost of the new thing never truly having its own unique space within fiction. If
Yeah,
every episode of a brand new TV show was a
that's
crossover
fair.
with different already popular TV shows, you'd be appealing to the fans of all the other shows at the cost of the new show never really becoming anything itself. If the new
Maybe it all depends on how it's done, right? This is early days and a lot of speculation on both his part, my part, everybody's part. So I guess the answer is
new show
maybe.
only stands on the strengths of its references, it would have nothing uniquely its own. It's a horrible thought to imagine new pieces of media simply being bundled references and allusions to already existing bits of media, but within a metaverse, that would be the safest and most profitable thing to do. You only need to look at games like Fortnite to see it makes far more money to push your own storyline and personality to the side and give people what they already
Yeah,
know and love.
because that's what worked for that fan base, for that type of game, for that industry. It doesn't necessarily, you can't use that as a model and apply it to Walmart's metaverse or Adidas's metaverse, right? Maybe there's people who would love to see like a metaverse that contains both Adidas and Nike combined together. Who fucking knows? But we're looking at a very, very small cross section and trying to make blanket statements for what this is going to do as a whole, and I don't think it pans out.
So to
I
link
don't
this
think it
back to
holds
earlier,
water.
a metaverse isn't a crossover episode, but it does allow crossovers between disconnected franchises. It's not a multiverse of a franchise, but it does allow multiverses to combine products. It's not an extended franchise universe or a referenced universe, because everything is now connected to everything else. Connections are no longer fun Easter eggs for viewers. The connection is proudly proclaimed and advertised as the metaverse. It's not franchises joining an already known framework and being supporting
Mm,
characters to that framework's established personality, but instead the framework itself being cannibalized as a
maybe this is all very, very doom and gloom. I mean, at the end of the day, all of this is unknown. This is based off of what has happened, right? But it's kind of the early pioneers of metaverse and combining this stuff together. I'm not for, again, just to clarify, I'm not for or against metaverse. I don't give a shit. This is not something I care about. Not yet, at least. It hasn't impacted me yet, and I don't necessarily know that it will, at least if it stays just in the entertainment industry. But I think there are potential benefits. This is all up to how the
vehicle for
company
marketing
structures it.
every other more successful franchise. The metaverse is not simply a 3D VR chat system. It is not online shopping. It is not in-game raids. We've had all of those for years, but
Yeah.
flashy advertising animations will tell you this is new and exciting and exclusive and the
Well,
future.
sure.
You
That's
cannot
buzzwords.
join the metaverse any more than you can play the video game or watch the film, because there
Hmm.
isn't just one, there are many. You can, if you want to, get involved with a metaverse, but this doesn't actually make anything new happen. There's no
Right.
experience a metaverse can give you that we haven't already had access to for many, many.
I think that's the whole point of the metaverse is to give new experiences. They're literally that's literally all they have is taking existing products and pushing them together to give you a different package. Like go back to my travel example, right? The new experience is a one-stop shop to handle all of your travel needs in that kind of made up scenario, right? But I think when you're dealing with existing products, the only thing you have is the new experience. I don't agree with that.
Years. Because a metaverse isn't about you or giving you a new experience or a new reality. It's about them
I disagree.
combining everything they own and selling you everything based on its ephemeral connection to everything else. So
Yeah,
when you see a company making a metaverse, please stop and think, is what they're doing actually anything new? Is this a consumer friendly future? Or are they just trying to appear futuristic and cool, connecting every
that's every company always and ever will be for all of time. That's just the way companies operate, right? They latch onto a buzzword, they try to shove it in your face in hopes that it'll get you to open your wallet, or in hopes that it will get more people to join their company and work for them, right? It's the reason so many people jumped on cloud and agile and now the metaverse, and it it's a buzz it's buzzwords, but it's nothing new. It's absolutely nothing new. And look, I'm not defending companies, right? They're faceless, soulless corporations. I get it. I get it. I get it 100%. But this is this is really reaching, I think, because at the end of the day, companies do provide, the reason they're companies, the reason they make money is because they're providing services that people want. And if they're not, then that's consumerism 101. People will go elsewhere to get those services or those products. So I think the metaverse ends up being a way to offer new types of service offerings. Either that or it becomes this weird, like not really intuitive way to try to get stuff like a more robust Expedia, right? And it doesn't work very well. And they realize that because people aren't putting money into the metaverse and it kind of fades away into existence. But I, I don't know that this is necessarily something that is 100% anti-consumer, which is in my mind kind of the feel that he's trying to associate with this. It's of course everything that a company does is about trying to get money, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's anti-consumer. It just means, in fact, it's usually the opposite. They're usually trying to bring something new or some type of new experience to the consumer, and they're betting on that, and they're betting on the fact that it will be new and exciting enough that people will want to be a part of it. So yeah, this is just marketing before there's a product, but I don't know that it's intrinsically anti-consumer, which is the unfortunately the vibe that I'm kind of getting from this whole video here.
Everything you've ever enjoyed to everything you've not yet enjoyed, and hoping you will spend vast amounts of money trying to enjoy everything. The metaverse is, quite simply, the attempted creation of the largest marketing demographic in human history. Cheers for watching.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but that I go back to you have to see how it pans out. Especially, I think each industry is going to tackle this differently. But it was a very interesting video. I agree with some of the things he said. It was done really well. He obviously put a lot of thought and effort into it, and it's much easier for me to sit here and pick apart different pieces than it is for him to create a video. I'm sure if I put in the same amount of time creating a video, there would be a million things to for other people to pick apart as well. So I'm not saying that I'm taking the moral high ground here with some of the things that I had issues with, but in this case, I think it was much more sensationalized, much more kind of anti-consumer, scare focused, to get people riled up. And I know that's not his main intention here. This is his take, just like this is my take. Um, but at the end of the day, it was interesting. I'm very thankful that he put that video together because I thought it was interesting. It was an interesting take. It made me think about a lot of things, um, which is good. So I guess we'll have to see how it all plays out. Um, anyway, that's all I had planned for this morning. I'll catch you guys here in a couple days. Let's see, probably Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening for some more live play sessions and whatnot. But yeah, also catch me on the Tech Bytes TV channel tomorrow morning. That's where a lot of the programming and coding and more technical minded things are going to be. If you're not also subscribed, check out Tech Bytes channel on YouTube. There's a lot of, as of right now, product reviews and things like that, but I do have plans in the future to kind of expand where that's going. But anyway, thanks for watching. I will catch you guys in the next one.